Story 1. Farmhouse Fright. In a quiet countryside, there stood a farmhouse, weathered by time, its walls holding secrets and echoes of the past. This was no ordinary farmhouse. It had a reputation for being haunted. With its peeling paint, creaking floors and windows that had seen better days, it was the perfect setting for a horror story. Little did anyone know, the horror was real. A family, the Smiths, moved into the farmhouse one sunny afternoon. They believed it would be a fresh start, a peaceful life in the countryside. But the moment they stepped through the creaking front door, they could feel something was amiss. The Smiths soon learned of the farmhouse's dark history. It was once owned by a reclusive family, the Graveleys, who vanished without a trace. Locals whispered about strange lights at night, eerie sounds, and shadowy figures that could be seen from the road. The Graveleys were known for practicing odd rituals, and their sudden disappearance only fueled the rumors. Despite the unsettling stories, the Smiths, with their young children, were eager to make the farmhouse their home. They envisioned peaceful days, family gatherings, and laughter echoing through its halls. Their excitement was palpable as they unloaded their belongings, filling the old house with new life. But as night fell, the Smiths began to experience the inexplicable. Mysterious footsteps echoed through the empty corridors. Doors slammed shut on their own, and whispers filled the air. The children claimed they saw a lady in white, her presence chilling their souls. The Smiths realized that the farmhouse's legends were more than tales. They were horrifyingly real. As days turned into weeks, the Smiths found themselves isolated. The once friendly neighbors kept their distance, unwilling to venture near the farmhouse. The family's fear grew, an unshakable presence in their daily lives. They yearned for escape, but the farmhouse seemed determined to keep them within its grasp. Desperate for answers, Mr. Smith began researching the history of their farmhouse. He discovered a dusty old journal hidden in the attic, filled with the ramblings of a former resident. The journal spoke of strange occurrences, demonic symbols, and warnings never to disturb the farmhouse's cursed earth. The family now understood they were trapped in a place tainted by malevolence. Meanwhile, a group of adventurous teenagers in the nearby town had heard of the haunted farmhouse's notoriety. Brimming with curiosity and a dash of bravado, they decided to explore the place one fateful evening. Armed with flashlights and nervous laughter, they set out on their daring adventure, eager to debunk the stories. As the teenagers entered the farmhouse, the atmosphere turned frigid. Their laughter faded into uneasy silence, and their flashlights revealed ominous shadows in the corners. Strange whispers seemed to come from the very walls, and the floorboards beneath their feet groaned as if they held a terrible secret. The teenagers' nerves were pushed to the brink when objects began to move on their own and eerie apparitions appeared before them. One by one, they felt icy fingers graze their skin. Panic set in and they attempted to escape, but the farmhouse's malevolent grip seemed to tighten, making the exit elusive. Back at the Smiths' residence, the family was enduring their own nightmarish ordeal, with each passing day bringing more horrifying experiences. The farmhouse had no intention of letting them go. In the darkness, two separate stories of terror were intertwining, destined to collide. The family, now aware of the sinister entity's power, attempted desperate escapes, but every exit was blocked by supernatural forces. The teenagers, still inside, fought to survive as the farmhouse's wrath intensified. It became evident that only by solving the mysteries of the past could they hope to break free from the clutches of this malevolent place. As the two groups struggled to survive, they uncovered the haunting truth that had plagued the farmhouse for generations. The Graveley family, who had once lived there, had dabbled in dark rituals and made a terrible pact. Their souls were forever bound to the farmhouse, and they sought to claim new victims to share their cursed existence. The climax of the story witnessed a horrifying showdown between the living and the vengeful spirits. It was a battle for survival, with the family and teenagers facing a relentless onslaught of spectral terrors. The outcome was uncertain, but the courage and determination of the living would be tested to the limit. The story concludes with the aftermath of the terrifying encounters. Some survive, scarred for life, while others are lost to the malevolent forces that still haunt the farmhouse. It serves as a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, their horrors hidden from the world. In the end, the farmhouse remains a place of dread, a reminder of the darkness that dwells within the quiet countryside. The tale of the Smiths and the adventurous teenagers is etched into the history of the haunted farmhouse, a story that will continue to send shivers down the spines of those who dare to hear it. Story 2. Haunting Echoes. The Abandoned Farmhouse. In a quiet countryside, surrounded by dense woods, a group of curious teenagers gathered one gloomy evening. With an air of excitement, they hatched a plan to explore the long-abandoned farmhouse that had stood there for decades, shrouded in mystery and whispers of its sinister past. The farmhouse was a daunting sight, worn by time and engulfed in the embrace of the encroaching forest. Its windows shattered, and its walls covered in creeping ivy, the building was an embodiment of eerie solitude. Locals avoided it, believing it to be cursed, and stories of unexplained happenings within its walls were shared around campfires. The group of teenagers comprised 5 friends, each with their own distinct personalities. There was Sam, the daredevil leader; Emily, the bookish skeptic; Mark, the funny and light-hearted one; Lisa, the quiet observer; and Alex, the skeptical but easily spooked member of the group. Their motives for exploring the farmhouse ranged from curiosity to the sheer thrill of adventure. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the teenagers, their flashlights in hand, ventured forth into the darkened woods, determined to explore the farmhouse that had haunted their imaginations for years. The closer they got, the thicker the sense of unease grew in their hearts. Inside the farmhouse, their flashlights revealed disturbing symbols and cryptic markings etched across the walls. Symbols they couldn't recognize, but felt ominous. It was as if the very walls whispered secrets of dread and despair. A frisson of terror ran down their spines as they began to piece together the history of the cult that once thrived in this farmhouse. They'd heard tales of rituals so dark that they had made the place forbidden. Slowly, the unsettling reality dawned on them. They were intruders in a place where malevolent secrets were buried, and they feared they might awaken the sleeping horrors that lay dormant. In the dusty, dimly lit room, Emily stumbled upon an old diary, the brittle pages revealing the nightmarish existence of a cult member. This diary would become a source of disturbing revelations and guide them deeper into the darkness of the farmhouse. I hope this sets the tone for the story. If you'd like to continue, please let me know, and I'll provide the next section. As they delved deeper into the farmhouse, the atmosphere grew heavier, and the sense of dread intensified. Shadows danced on the walls, whispers lingered in the air, and unexplained noises echoed through the halls. The teenagers could feel an unseen presence watching their every move. The fear among the group began to escalate. Each creak of a floorboard or flicker of a shadow made their hearts race. The eerie symbols on the walls seemed to grow darker and more ominous, leaving the teenagers trembling with a growing sense of impending doom. Just when they thought their fears couldn't get any worse, they heard distant footsteps and saw eerie figures approaching through the shattered windows. Panic set in as they realized that the cult members, or whatever was left of them, were returning to the farmhouse. With terror coursing through their veins, the teenagers knew they had to fight for their lives. They moved stealthily, trying to evade the cult members and the malevolent force it might have unwittingly unleashed. It became a desperate game of survival, with every corner of the decrepit farmhouse harboring new terrors. The malevolent force, once dormant, began to manifest with chilling intensity. Doors slammed shut, objects flew across rooms, and the very walls of the farmhouse seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. The teenagers were no longer sure if they were facing human cult members or something far more sinister. As the horrors escalated, the teenagers fought to find an escape from the farmhouse. Along the way, they stumbled upon gruesome relics and horrifying evidence of the cult's unholy practices. It was a race against time, as the malevolent force closed in on them. In the end, the story takes a dark turn, and the true nature of the malevolent force is revealed. The teenagers' fight for survival reaches a harrowing climax, and the farmhouse's sinister secrets come to light, leaving readers with a lingering sense of dread and uncertainty about the darkness that lurks in forgotten places. Story 3. Snowbound Nightmare. Haunting of the Farmhouse. In a faraway farmhouse, surrounded by endless fields of white, a family huddled together, desperate to stay warm and safe. The howling wind outside shook the windows and snow fell relentlessly, sealing them in. They had been isolated for days, trapped by a brutal snowstorm that seemed determined never to end. Their food and water supplies were dwindling, and with each passing moment, their hope faded like the waning light of a winter's day. As the storm raged on, an eerie, unsettling feeling began to creep over the family. The walls of the old farmhouse seemed to close in around them, and the darkness outside the windows held a sense of foreboding. Fear gnawed at them, and they couldn't shake the sensation that something was terribly wrong. It was as though an invisible, malevolent presence lurked just out of sight, waiting for the right moment to strike. In the dead of night, the family was jolted awake by strange, unexplainable noises. Creaks in the floorboards, whispers in the shadows, and eerie, ghostly sighs filled the air. They dismissed these sounds as the products of their own imagination, trying to convince themselves that the isolation and the storm were playing tricks on their minds. Desperation deepened as their food and water supplies dwindled rapidly. Each day, items vanished mysteriously from their meager stores. Accusations flew among family members, suspicion growing like a weed in the frozen soil of their fear. They locked what remained of their food away, but it seemed that someone, or something, was intent on stealing their sustenance. The entity's presence, once vague and distant, became more palpable. The family's investigation of the sinister happenings yielded no answers. Doors slammed shut on their own, and chilling drafts of air brushed past them, but they saw nothing. It was as if an invisible hand guided the malevolent forces haunting them, always just beyond their reach. One fateful night, as the family huddled together for warmth, they got their first horrifying glimpse of the lurking entity. It emerged from the darkness, its form shifting and uncertain. Shadows clung to it, making it difficult to discern its true nature. Panic seized the family as they saw its malevolent eyes, filled with a hunger for their fear. They realized to their terror that they were not alone in that farmhouse. With the entity's presence now undeniable, fear and paranoia spread like wildfire among the family members. They were isolated, trapped in their own home, and unable to escape the evil that lurked in every corner. As days turned into endless nights, their resolve weakened, and the question of survival grew increasingly bleak. Desperation drove the family to attempt an escape. They knew the snowstorm was their enemy, but it was preferable to the sinister force that threatened their lives. They ventured out into the biting cold, but the entity would not let them go. It sabotaged their efforts at every turn, ensuring they remained trapped in the cursed farmhouse. Desperate for answers, the family delved into the farmhouse's dark history. They discovered tales of tragedy and malevolence, stories of others who had vanished into the snowy abyss. The clues they unearthed hinted at the entity's true nature and the horrors it had wrought in the past. As the family's understanding deepened, they learned the dark motivations behind the entity's torment. It was a vengeful spirit, wronged in life, and seeking to extract a terrible retribution. The revelation sent shivers down their spines, for it meant they were in the clutches of an entity consumed by hatred and darkness. With no other choice, the family members put aside their differences and fears, realizing that their only chance for survival was to unite against the malevolent force that threatened to tear them apart. Together, they planned a final stand, bolstered by their shared determination to confront the entity that had turned their lives into a nightmare. In a heart-pounding climax, the family faced off against the entity. A battle for survival unfolded in the dimly lit farmhouse, filled with desperation and terror. The walls seemed to close in on them as they fought against an insidious force that wanted to consume them. It was a night of unimaginable horror and a test of their will to endure. The price of their confrontation with the malevolent entity was high. Sacrifices had to be made, and not everyone would emerge from the ordeal unscathed. Some family members would pay the ultimate price, leaving a permanent scar on those who survived. With the snowstorm finally subsiding, the farmhouse returned to a chilling silence. The surviving family members, forever changed by their horrifying ordeal, were left to grapple with the traumatic memories and the knowledge that they had faced something truly evil.